Welcome back to another episode of the Multipliers Club. We are officially in the new Multipliers HQ. Joe Todd at his office has given us the luxury of building this beautiful studio. For those watching on YouTube, you can see we've got some beautiful black paneling now as well. And we've grown too. We've got a new member of the team. Shout out Harry, who's behind the scenes.
Big up, Harry.
He's our new camera guy. He's came all the way over from Romford. It's Romford, Harry, right? Romford, Essex. To help us grow the brand. So yeah, big things happening on the Multipliers Club. So today we're going to be talking all about losses and risk taking in business. We're going to share some of our own losses. A couple of the lads, Joe, have had super big losses over the years, and we just want to talk about the lows that come with the highs, and you know what we've actually lost to get to where we are today. So yeah, I mean, let's start with you, Jake. Talk a little bit about your kind of risk tolerance and some of the losses you've taken that's helped you get to the level you are today running a successful six-figure business.
Yeah, I mean, we all take risks. That's part of our makeup, isn't it, really? I'm still taking risks now, taking a lot of losses, financial losses. My investment stuff is absolutely ridiculous, just super high risk. Don't know why. I just get a bit of a buzz out of it. Namely crypto. Crypto is just a bit of a buzz. We've all, like, I remember when we was last bull run. Remember when we just couldn't sleep?
No way.
Because we'd put, how much did we put into GRT? I think but not a lot, was it? It was like $1,000 or something.
GRT, that's the coin that 2x'd overnight.
That was it.
And
yeah.
that was
and
my
we were
first
waking
ever.
up at night. Just looking at it,
Just
kept going up. And I don't know why, that just buzzed.
I had to buy some more GRT for that nostalgia. This time round, I got it.
Have you got some more?
Yeah, I had to get some more.
Yeah,
The GRT one was interesting, actually, because that was my first ever experience at crypto. Luke, I think you boys called me. You were like, look, we're going to put $1,000 into GRT. We heard it's going to 2x overnight. I was just like, fuck it. Put a G in, and in the morning woke up and it was 2 Gs. Instantly just hooked.
Yeah.
And then I was just 100% in from that point.
Went out to 3 in it, like pretty quickly that day as well. I'm sure it went like 3x and then it just...
Yeah, then it just dropped like a stone straight away, and then it just never recovered. So, yeah. It's shit like that. Like, yeah, I feel like that's the risk. That's the fun of the game. You learn lessons, because I don't think I even cashed out now. I'm pretty sure it went all the way up.
No,
I watched it come.
You
actually cashed out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of doomed to start with, really, because having that as your first ever crypto experience, knowing nothing about crypto, just instantly, you know, that dopamine hit of, 3 years ago, I never made money in my sleep. So making £1,000 in my sleep, I was like, fuck, I'm going all in on this, lads.
Yeah.
You know? So from there, I cashed out GRT and I put all of my profits into Cardano, which also treated me quite well. But then it was a slippery slope from that point.
The whole thing was a slippery slope. I think we watched all of our stuff go up by we was all in it together. Watched it all go up like 3 or 4 times portfolio. Keep putting more money in, and then all of a sudden, bang! Like the rug got pulled. And, you know, but we're back again. There's another cycle.
That's just how the crypto game
goes.
crypto
game, yeah. You got to learn to maybe not be so greedy. Yeah, get out a little bit earlier.
Set your targets. Yeah. That's what I think it's important to set your targets. We're actually going to have someone come on and chat about crypto soon, which will be a good episode, which I'm looking forward to. But that's what I'm doing in this bull run, just setting targets up front, not being greedy. Because you can make 3x, like, nothing in crypto, do you know what I mean? But if you start chasing the 10, 20x, which is completely doable, 100% it's completely doable. That's not even unrealistic. Anyone that's been in crypto knows that. But at the same time, if you compare it to any other investment you're going to make, just take a 2, 3x of your bulk of your money at least and get out. And then, of course, you could keep some in there to play around with and just chase the big numbers, the 10x, 20x. But that is on our investments. That's not our main businesses. The risk tolerance is very different in our businesses.
In your own business.
That makes it sound like we're just wild, and which we are a little bit.
I think it's investments and business, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's both.
The risk tolerance is very different, though. You don't take huge risks on.
Your business side
of
calculated, yeah. I mean, you could probably deem what I done last year as a risk and not necessarily a loss, because I learned a lot. But just for example, last year, previous year, I started the business 3 years ago. It's just me. I was making bookings, making reasonable sum, and I thought, okay, let's time to grow it. Let's start investing. into staff, into, got a big office. I spoke about this before. But in terms of how it is I'm where I was now today, where I probably was maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, before I had any staff. So I went through the whole process of hiring everyone, getting the office, started, obviously, HW Media helped me out a lot with my ads, and, we started investing more money into that. But my business plan just needed to go back to where I was a year and a half ago. So in terms of losses, it's costing me, over £10,000 a month to actually run that. But it was way less profitable. And I'm now where I was 18 months ago.
I think
not a loss, but I spent an awful lot of money reinvesting into business, and now I've just toned it down.
Talking about losses, Jake, something that we didn't even discuss this prior to pod actually, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about. So, talk a little bit about how you went from a real high-paying travel job to starting your own company in travel during lockdown, where no one can actually travel. Right, because that was a short-term loss, and now you're obviously reaping the rewards massively. But just talk a little bit about the experience of that and how it kind of put pressure on you.
Calculated risk again. I mean, I didn't get that opportunity pre-COVID. It was a case of COVID hit. People, they wanted to lay off staff pretty much, and it was like, who wants to go and start their own branch? And my two options were, either I stay and sit at my desk 5 days. We were still working 5 days a week, even though no one was traveling anywhere.
Just doing refunds all day.
Literally, we're firefighters. We're just fighting fires. People go, "Oh, where's my money? I ain't got my money back yet." And it's like, well, we haven't had it back from the airline or the hotel. So look, don't worry, we'll come back to you. And we took it in turns. Sometimes some people were off. We did get furloughed for part of it, but other days when I was in, I weren't really doing that much work, and I was just sitting at my desk, just being rotated in, having to answer the calls. My call stats went down. Like, I was the person just not answering the phone. I just lost interest in it, and it was and obviously my wages went right back down. So
commission, innit?
Yeah, it was all commission based. Yeah. So I went down. They really looked after us for a long period of time, but COVID is over. Travel was messed up for 2 years. So it was a case of, I've done it for a whole year, and then the next year it was like, right, we'll look after you, but a lot less. So I think they dropped everything to like what I was used to earning, like in half. So I was like, well, I've got this opportunity. I can just leave. I can make that money doing something completely different, mate. No shame on anything. I'll go and knock doors and wash cars if I knew I was going to get 20, 30 quid. Like, I would do anything to make money. And I knew the money that they were paying me, I could go and stack shelves in Tesco's, or I can go and do something else. But I thought, right, opportunity, spend that time actually investing into the business, doing stuff on the side, like Crep Chief Notify, like when we had Milo on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then just made money on the side whilst doing that. Yes, took a loss for the interim.
Just on that, sorry to cut you off. So you started a travel business, prime lockdown, right? No one could. I didn't think anyone could leave the house, let alone catch a flight. You're used
Everything
to
was red list. Yeah. You had all the traffic lights, if you remember.
That's it.
Our job was super hard.
So how long did it take you to start earning money from your travel business that you started during COVID?
Another year. Yeah, another year. So I went a whole year without a wage, essentially. But again, I set up a hot tub business. I was renting out hot tubs. I was selling PlayStations. I was selling dunks. As I say, like you make ends meet.
Using the time wisely, weren't you?
Yeah. But also I was I'd saved previously, and no one was doing anything anyway. Where was anyone going? No one's spending any money. All my money goes on travel.
It's kind of the least riskiest on the flip side, as such.
Least riskiest time to do it.
Yeah.
You're never going to get an opportunity like that
when it comes back, it would come back hard.
And you had time to get yourself set up properly.
Exactly. I'd done it in
missing out on anything. You wasn't spending crazy money.
Yeah.
So
I fully respect it though.
Yeah.
If you were to ask the majority of people, would you start a travel business during lockdown? They'd probably laugh, right?
Yeah.
So where you are now to where you were then is very impressive. You're living the life, bro.
Yeah,
and it's great to see, man. It's great to see. So Luke, talk about a couple of the losses you've taken. I know going all the way back to before we even started a business together, you were invested heavily in a couple of shares. Talk a bit about your experience and how you've lost some money.
Yeah, so when I was at Metrobank, So I worked there for like 9 years, and every single year you'd get a bonus, but you can take your bonus as shares. So at the time, like, when I started Metro Bank, there was only 10 Metro Banks, and now when I left, there was 75. So you can see like it was going up and up and up. And they had mad goals, like we need 1 million customers by this time, and they just always blew those targets out of the water. So I thought, why am I not going to invest in the shares? I was so like emotionally invested, where I was spending every day there. I obviously went through the ranks quite quickly as well. So I would always just take. Everyone said I was mad though. I was always just taking the
bonus.
Yeah,
shares.
I didn't need the money.
How much was the bonus in shares?
It varied as every year. So like first year it would be like I get 2K, next year I get like 4. As I worked out, then it was 5, then I got 10 one time. I think I had like something like 20, 25 of bonuses in there at one time. But then the shares kept going up, so it was sick. Like I was gassed, and then the shares got to something like £40, roughly 40 quid. And then it all just went wrong, you know. Like
so how much was that in total?
I think at the time, I remember the highest I saw my account at was something like 45k. That's the highest I saw it at. And
so you've gone from 25 to 45, so it's nearly doubled.
Yeah. And it, like obviously some of them were going up as I was putting it in. Yeah, so it nearly doubled.
Could you have cashed out if you wanted to?
Yeah,
at that level.
Yeah, when it was on 45, like I could take the money out.
What was your game plan back then? Did you have a figure you wanted to get to? Then you were going to cash out, or you were just trying to get the monopoly?
Right. So basically, when the owner of Metro Bank, he had another bank called Republic Bank in America, and it's in the 2020 club. The 2020 club is that he returned his investors 20% every year, 20 years in a row at that bank. So that was the story always being told, and that was in my head. I'm like, oh, this is
a compound on that is mad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
20% a year for 20 years.
Yeah, so you think he's already done it? It's proof of concept. He's done it. He's like a billionaire. And I just thought, yeah, this is going to happen. So I never really thought about taking the money out. Even at 40, I'm thinking this is going to be like
bank's solid as well.
A
lot of the shares, like, you know, like Lloyd's and Barclays, like they're like dividend paying shares, and they're like solid.
Yeah, exactly. So then it wasn't just me as well. Like my manager, she had because she started as a manager. So when she came in, and there was 10 Metro Banks, and then she left it when there was 70. She had like 100k in there. But so then what went wrong was, there was a few things where there was one time it was completely fake news. I remember, Sam, you got sent this video, didn't you, saying Metro Bank's closing down, like everyone needs to go and get your money out now.
How did you get sent the video?
Well, I found out because when I worked in Bromley, I was walking down Bromley High Street, and my pal Alex Hitchin, he had about 20 G's in a Metro account. He was literally running past me. I'm like, where you going, bruv? He was like, Metro Bank's about to close down. I need to get my money out of Metro, put it in Santander. I was like, Luke, what's going on? Is Metro closing down?
Yeah.
It's fake news, but I believe that's why the share price dropped because of the fake news.
Yeah, like it was.
Who created the fake news?
It was like, I'm not too sure. I know they were trying to take like legal action against him in the end. He obviously heard something, because there was a few things that happened. I can come on to that as well. But it was mental, because I was the only like manager in that day, and I'm talking, there was just everyone was coming in demanding their money and demanding all their safety deposit box stuff. Like I worked in Croydon. Croydon's the busiest metro there is in the country. It's chaotic, and like everyone's coming in, and when you tell them no, we're not closing down, they don't believe you. So, you know, they're just kicking off like, I want my money. I'm not leaving without it. I'm like, we're not closing down. We don't have your money. Like, we don't just suddenly have. As a bank.
Was you the manager at this time?
As a bank, you don't keep money in the bank. The money goes off because you need it in the account so they can use it for stuff. You don't just keep money. Keep like 200k. People coming in asking for more than that.
Well, they wanted that in cash.
Everything. They want everything. Yeah, they want everything out. Just wanted everything out now.
And then surely
boxes. There's not enough time in the day to get everything out of your box.
And surely that would have actually legitimately dropped the share price, because everyone's taking the assets out of the bank.
Yeah, because
is that why it plummeted?
Report it, yeah, like what the account's saying. So if someone suddenly took a lot of money, then it's going to cause problems. And that was all over every Metro Bank.
And so have the shares not recovered at all now?
Yeah, so they went. The highest they got to was £40, something around £40. And then now they're at like, I think it's maybe 75p.
Oh. Wow.
So you got, like,
do you still have them? You hold them now still?
Yeah.
What's they worth?
They were literally, I remember having 45k, and now it's not even 1k. So that was so, you know, it is what it is. It's like,
thing is with those banks, Metro Bank was the one that people with just any dodgy dealings going on, it was always Metro Bank.
Facts.
Metro Bank.
Yeah,
you just need to go to Metro Bank in Croydon and draw the
what
money
actually
out.
happened in the end was that there was an accounting error, which is ridiculous. So as a bank, I was trying to bore you with the details. As a bank, you have to have a certain amount of money liquid in case something happens, right? And randomly, Metrobank realised themselves that the last year they hadn't been keeping that money liquid. Not that they couldn't have, but they just weren't. So then they had to go to the regulators and be like, look, we fucked up. We actually have only been keeping X amount. We should have had this amount. So then obviously that didn't help. So that got into the news and all that. It's like, oh, you can't even do your account in your fucking bank. Like, so then the CEO was like, he had to leave because someone had to take the hit. But then it just never ever recovered.
What was going through your mind when you lost 40 G's? What was that emotional place like? That must have been deep.
I was pissed because I was like, it's not about the 40 G's. It's about that. I thought I was going to be taking out 200K. You know what I mean? It's not even the 40 G's. It was like my hopes of what I was going to get. And it wasn't just like, I didn't just make it up. There was lots of facts and figures and I was seeing a lot of stuff. So yeah, it weren't good. But you never know, that 1K might go up.
Hold on.
They were in some trouble last year, I think. Was it back in the last year? Obviously, you're not there anymore.
Yeah,
you've been there for a while.
They just let everyone, like, I think 70% of the team go. So
really?
yeah, I think I got out a good time, to be fair. And I actually really enjoyed working there, so I can't even complain. Like, and I think if I was going to learn anything from that, it's when you're making money, or you should take some money out. Do you know what I mean? My manager, she had 100K, but she did actually take like some money out, so she didn't really care as much as I did, whereas mine was my whole 100%.
It's a really good point. I've had advice like that from my old mentor, Richard Blackburn, who's built multiple businesses and sold them. He said one mistake a lot of founders make is they're so focused on the end goal of selling. They worked for years building the business, taking minimal amounts out of the business. But then, you know, an unforeseen circumstance might happen where that business folds, you know, it goes under. And you reap no rewards from that business by taking a cheeky little dividend out here and there. So I think like a lesson he learned was have fun along the way. Like you don't want to drain the business of the cash reserves, but make sure you're, you know, enjoying life as well instead of just focusing on that end sell, because business is very unpredictable, as we've all learned over the years. Joe, what about you, mate? What's some of the maddest losses you've had and how has it changed how you act about risk now?
I think it's which one? Where do I even start, mate?
Which one?
I've had big losses, multiple losses in each different area of my life. So I had obviously a big loss initially was when I had the clothing business, which I'll touch on briefly. I think mainly, obviously, I'll speak about just on the building company side of things, but the clothing company was. I think I mentioned it before in the podcast. We had a self-storage unit, which was SureGuard. Fuck SureGuard. Worst company. SureGuard. Don't ever use SureGuard. Terrible.
Where is the
SureGuard? Terrible company. And for good reason, I can say that as well. So that's not even whatever the word is. I can't remember. Where you say bad things about companies, but I don't care.
Slander.
Yeah, they. So SureGuard, basically, it's the self-storage lock-up units that you have. And so when I had the personal shopping business, we used to keep all of our clothes and trainers, etc., in obviously what we thought was a secure unit. And I'd kept my stuff in there for about 2 years, paying about £300 a month. And then we got, well, I don't think we got targeted specifically, but they was all at high risk in the area. So not only SureGuard, but some of the other self-storage units had been targeted and robbed. And SureGuard was at high alert, but they decided not to alert the people that keep their stuff there. And so...
How did you become high alert? Just because everyone else is...
Because they had other locations broken into. Their other companies had also had theirs broken into. So they was at high alert that it's, you know, risky basically to keep your stuff there. But they didn't alert anyone. Instead, they got a security guard to check in once a night, but he didn't stay there. He just called in and left, like that's any use. And so I was in Mexico and I got a call, and they basically, long story short, they told us that our unit had been broken into. They'd broken into 4 or 5 others first, then hit ours and just hit absolute jackpot. Stole some suitcases from another unit that they'd broken into, came to ours and put every single last item, about 45 grand or something, I believe it was. I can't.
45 grand worth of stock.
Yeah, at cost price as well, into the suitcases and left with all of it. Wow. So that was a big loss then. And
how, okay, so was there no insurance? Like, what did SureGuard say about this?
So we got paid out like £1,000 on insurance.
On 45 bags?
Yeah.
So you have to have the different insurance levels, right?
Yeah.
Policies.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a lesson to me. But at the same time, they're basically in their contract, their duty is to do the best possible job to keep your stuff secure. They're not liable for the items, but they need to do the best possible job they can do to keep your stuff secure. They was at high risk and high alert, and instead, similar to, let's say your neighbour gets burgled, what do the police do? They come around, they knock on your house, and they tell you your next door neighbour or someone on the road was burgled, and just make sure to double lock your doors and keep some lights on and this sort of thing. They tell you so that you can take the necessary precautions to make sure that you're now doing everything you can, sort of thing, right? They don't not knock on your door to say, oh, we didn't want to scare you. That's just stupid. So all they needed to do is send an email, send a text or call, whatever, to say of what's been going on in the area. And I'd have took my stuff out 100% because I was actually going off to Mexico for 3 months anyway. So, and I had thought about taking it out. So obviously I didn't. That was a loss. And at the same time, it was like I got hit with like 3 different things on the clothing. One was to do with a watch, a Rolex. One was to do with my LV holdall.
What was going through your mind when you got the message saying your SureGuard lock has been broken into? Like, how did you deal with it? Like, what did you do?
Who did you call?
Mate, I was so pissed. I was just in Mexico. And like saying, there was 3 things back to back. And there was actually another thing. There was 4 things. I lost another like 40k or split 40k. So I lost like 20k in the clothing with something else to do with a supplier getting knocked.
And how close were those 2 losses to one another?
So there was 3. There was the Rolex, my bag, and the lockup pretty close together. And that was to do with like PayPal, chargebacks, and basically, obviously, when you're in that industry, people are full-time out to try and get you. You're selling high-end clothes, high-end watches.
You're a target.
You're an absolute target. And I had managed to not get done at all for the first good period of the business, I don't know, a couple of years, and then got hit bad with the supplier one where bought stuff fine. How much
are you spending with that supplier?
Racked up 40 grand order between me and someone else, so about 20k each, gone.
You never expect it though with that kind of stuff. Like when you're always dealing with supply for ages, like you're just.
That's it.
How much are you spending originally? Like just small orders, like £1,000 or 2.
Yeah. So obviously it was a new supplier, so I tested. But when that's your business, it sounds like a lot of money. That's normal to send someone 10 grand, 20 grand to do an order for. You're talking a lot.
Yeah, because your profit margins, maybe 10-20% on that.
Depending, anywhere from like 10 to 30%, really.
So you got to spend 20 grand to just make 2 or 3 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
So the guy that knocked you here, right? You built up trust with him. You were sending him a K, 2K, 5K. Then you sent him 20 bags. Do you feel like it was...
Not direct 20, but it's because you're waiting for things to come in and stuff. So the whole process was normal. That's why it gets you. They obviously know the process of what the industry's like. But if I ordered you now some, let's say I'm personal shopping, I ordered you some LV trainers and I know I've got to ship them in from Italy, that might take me, that might take a week. Or it might say, look, these are on pre-order. It's going to take 2-3 weeks. And then I can confirm that to the client, are you happy to wait 2-3 weeks? Yes, fine. You pay me $1,000. I pay this guy whatever, £800.
Did he purposefully knock you, or did he take a loss? So what happened?
No,
How did you find out?
He was a scammer.
He just scammed you, and did he block you and can't be found, or?
Yeah, he was clever. He had it. We tried tracking. I paid for things to try and track his number, track his location, all of that. It was all like VPN things, and it was bouncing off here, there, and everywhere, and you just couldn't.
Did you ever meet this guy in flesh?
No, but I never met most of my suppliers.
No, you wouldn't. No, I just wondered if it's this one you did.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, we got recommended it by someone, but then they got knocked. It's a brutal. You could go think this guy. I know people that saying, there was group chats where they all got scammed by the same person, and you're thinking this guy's just walked away with a couple $100,000. Yeah. It's an industry of high-end products that people are constantly used to spending, not spending, but for their business, sending 10, 20, 30, 40k a month because you're just, a watch. If you want, I had a similar situation where I got most of my money back on a watch, but still got knocked off a few grand. A Rolex, so same thing. It's 12 grand. It's, that's a whole nother long story. But it's overall in the clothing, it's still done me very well. I've done really well over the few years. It was a good business, but yeah, getting knocked for those big amounts was obviously tough, and at the time was real tough because that's when, I was on top of the world. I was 21, had about 100 grand, earning, the same sort of thing, probably a year, maybe more.
Pause the podcast there to give a massive shout out to our sponsor, the Manifestation app, by Robert Heisey, the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. Now, this app is an absolute must for anyone that's looking for further success in their life. It covers a whole range of things from meditations, calm stories, unconscious mind therapy, journaling, mood tracking, affirmations, the list goes on. It's an incredible app. It's got an incredible community within the app that you can connect with other like-minded people. And we actually have a code, TMC Manifest, for 25% off of your first month. So go check it out. It's on the App Store, the Manifestation app. Back to the podcast.
In business, there's always risks you got to take, really, with it. One of our clients actually is in the building trade, and they just lost. They just did a big job for someone, 300k, and that company went bust. The company that was going to pay them, and that's it now.
Was that the Birch?
That money back. That's not the Birch.
Oh, the Birch.
I know the guy that got knocked for that actually.
Yeah. Really.
And he, at the same time, he got knocked from a couple of hotels, and there was a big company doing 45 million a year, building company, and yeah, they got knocked for a good few million from a few different clients at a similar time and sent them under.
For mills.
It's crazy.
But he sent them under.
About it a lot in the building game as well. We had a client called Jimmy Driveway, right? One arm, one of the best guys you'd ever see at laying bricks though. I don't know how he done it, but he was sick. And he was doing a job in Brighton. I know who it is, but I won't say who on camera. He was doing a 12-month project, rebuilding like a house, like a complete house rebuild, 6-bedroom in the sticks. And 12 months in, the client was just like, I'm not paying you because you haven't done X, Y, Z. And he dedicated 12 months onto this project. He was paying his staff the whole time. He paid all the materials. I think he maybe got 20% of the payment at the beginning or however it works. But he said it was over 150 bags he got knocked for. And this isn't a big business. This is a man with one arm who's trying to make a living. So that really hurt him a lot. Luke always used to say that he's armless. So it's a shame.
It is brutal. The construction industry, especially like that, if you're working for contractors where they can just send their company under, and developers and stuff, and they will do that. They'll send their company under and just knock you, and you can't do anything. Obviously,
so going on to the building stuff. Obviously, you're running a successful building company. I know you've had some wins, you've had some losses as well, and some real hard times over the past few years. Talk a little bit about that. What's been your experience with the hardship of running a building company?
I think what I learned is 10 good months can be very quickly wiped out by 2 bad months, especially in the building industry. And the reason is because the turnover is obviously high, the wage bill is high, and yet the profit margin is quite low. So if you're going to commit to paying people's wages, but naturally at certain points of certain projects, you're not going to actually fully need everyone there. They're not going to be doing 100% work for you. And so you kind of have to almost front their wage bill because you don't want to lose them, because then the next job's going to start or whatever. And I think so many people in the construction industry will struggle with the same thing. And it's either too many staff, not enough work, or too much work, not enough staff. And it's a battle that you just will struggle to not get. You're just going to struggle to get that balance right.
I suppose that's why subcontracting is big in
massive, yeah. And that's what we've got so many good subcontractors that we know very well. We've worked with for years, and it's now just trying to utilise those a bit more. And I think obviously the struggle that comes sometimes with that is just the organisation and the project management, hence why we've now just got a new project manager starting. But yeah, in terms of actually some of the losses on the building industry, obviously, yeah, we're 5 years in now. When we started, it was obviously like any business, it was hard, it was tough, it was not paying yourselves for a good amount of time. Then we saw some success, managed to accumulate a decent amount of money in the business. We was reinvesting and stuff like that into new vans, into branding, into the new website, into staff, into some mentorships and stuff, and business was going really well. And then a few unforeseens happened with jobs, stuff, 2 jobs at the same time, things completely out of our control. That's never happened before to us, and hopefully doesn't even happen again, but at the same time happens, and that's a long story. But for instance, one job where we thought was going to be back on site within 2 weeks, took 5 months. And so that's kind of a dangling the carrot. It was all to do with the council and the makeup of the ground, and long story short, we had to do pile foundations, which is super expensive for the client. And so it was things like that happened. A couple jobs just therefore not running how you want them to run, and all of a sudden you can start losing a bit of money quite quickly.
Completely out of your control as well.
Completely,
right?
Most of it was completely out of our control. Then off the back of that, obviously, then there's some stuff in our control that didn't go probably how we wanted it. A few jobs. The good thing is we always made sure the clients are still happy. Bad thing is it just sometimes it can, when things swing the other way in the building, it can cost you a lot of money very, very quickly. So you can wipe out 100K pretty damn quick.
With the building, you can very rarely get lucky and all of a sudden make more of a margin, but you've always got the risk fact and the risk of actually something could go wrong and we can start losing money. Yeah. So once you've priced that job in, you can't then start tweaking things to make more money.
No, exactly. It's exactly that. And I think there's
a lot more risk and there is reward.
There's huge risk in the building industry, massive risk.
You're dealing with hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions.
You're dealing with millions. And so, it's like I say, the analogy I always give is if you break it down, right, let's say we are priced £1,000. Let's say there's a 20% margin, right, and you're paying someone 200 quid a day and we're charging them out at 240. That's not exactly how we work it, but a lot of people in construction do. Let's say you've charged £1,000 to build this wall, and that's whatever, a day's work or 2 days work. And instead of taking a day, it takes 2 days. Well, you're now £1,000 down. And bearing in mind this sort of stuff, this is common. That sort of stuff happens. Yeah, of course, sometimes there is some wins, but let's use that as an example. How many days does it now take you? Because that cost was, yes, you was going to make 200 quid off of this wall, but now it's cost you an extra bloody £1,000. That's going to take you 5 days of super successful work to make that money back. So often, if you have to be all over every aspect of the jobs, otherwise it can very easily be,
an extra week,
a step forward and 2 steps back all the time. And yeah, time delays and just all of that. Yeah, especially when you're looking at big projects. It's like we've just started a project now. We'll be on it for 7-8 months. It's a big 9-bed mansion house, and we're going to have multiple guys obviously on site. But you have to be very good at breaking it down section by section to track from day one.
Do you mind saying the price on that?
Pardon?
Do you mind saying the price on that?
Yeah, so this phase, it will be over a couple of phases. This phase is £500,000 plus that. On that,
different phases.
Only because we're doing the ground floor, first floor, whilst they live on 3rd floor / other side of the house.
The West Wing.
The West Wing, yeah, literally. So obviously we do this, then they'll move into the main house, then we'll do that part, then there's a swimming pool and that sort of thing. So that would be over a couple of phases. But so overall, a few years ago, yeah, we like I said, we started, it was tough. We then had some success. We then had a downwards turn for like a year where we lost a lot of money, but overall the good thing is the business was still good. The business still looked good. People were still happy. The clients were happy. The staff were happy. We just was losing money. So I know that sounds like, well, what's the point of business? But sometimes you have to go through that, take the lessons, take the learnings, implement new things moving forward. And then
what was the main reason for you taking the losses? Obviously, given that's the episode, what was kind of the main reason?
That just mainly the unforeseens of a couple of jobs, then things just not running how we expected them to run, obviously. Huge time delays.
What can you do about that now? Like, what are you doing about that now?
What happened on that, you can't. It was to do with the ground. It was literally, it was a one in a, well,
Oh, that was because the council moved.
It's ridiculous.
I suppose, you do.
There's more detail to the actual what happened on the technical side, which is just boring for the podcast. But as in, it was like, this has never happened to my dad or my best site manager who's been doing this for 40 years. So it was so unlucky for the client because it cost them a load of money. But the knock-on effects is, so for us, what we've done is now I've taken a strategy of actually booking one job a month, right? So that I know if anything happens. Because what we've had it as well, where we landed a £500,000 job and last minute they let us down, and because we didn't have a sizable enough deposit and the contracts tight and stuff like this, we just got let down. And now it was like you've planned for a £500,000 job and now it's not happening. And so all of that, those sort of learnings, comes down to holding deposits, letter of engagements, contracts. Starting a project every month. That's what you saw on the board before. I've got a project set for every month, and that's a good size project. That's 12 projects a year. And then let's say one blows out, one happens, it doesn't matter. I can either pull the next one forward, or I know I've got a good project to start at some point. So in some point in the near future. So that's what we're doing now. And yeah, we've got, a good couple £1 million of work. Literally, even yesterday I was saying to you boys, 2 more jobs want us to go ahead. We've got 2 more good inquiries, and it's now at a point where obviously we're booking either for like 6 months time, 7 months time, or we're going to have to continue to turn down jobs, which we do quite a lot anyway.
You need your subbies.
Yeah. But you need to also not run before you can walk as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like we've leveled up. We should do, £4 million turnover over the next 12 months. All very good projects, all profitable projects.
You're in a good
nice
place
clients.
now.
So we're in a good place. You don't want to. I could go and land I could sell £10 million of work. No doubt about it. I know I can do that of good jobs, but can we handle that? Probably not right now. Do you know what I mean? So let's not do it.
You probably could, but not to the standard.
Yeah, not to the standard. Exactly.
Like, that's your USP.
Exactly. Our USP is the service that we provide, the quality that we provide. It's high end. It's the communication. It's the personal, relationships that we build with the clients. So we need to. And that's hard. That is hard when you're the business. If I know I can go and sell £10 million of work. So imagine them thinking, well, most people's issue in business is how do we get jobs? How do we get the right clients? How do we get really profitable jobs? That bit for me is not the issue. I'm looking at thinking, to have to turn all of that down is a battle. But
last time you turned the job down because you were fully booked, and then that thing happened.
That thing happened. So I turned
get the job back. So
exactly. So we turned down like £1 million of work in a week, right? Of good jobs, or mostly good jobs. They weren't the best jobs, so that's why I didn't really try to win them all back. But yeah, we turned down like £1 million of work because we had that £500,000 job ready to start, and
made room for it.
Yeah, and then that happened, and that's why I was like, fuck. So that's why we're taking the strategy now of we're booking one a month, and yeah, of good projects.
You should be selective as well.
Yeah, we're super selective. We are super selective, which we never used to be.
Is it the same in a building game where the people that want cheaper jobs that are less profitable, less valuable, are the most work, and then the higher ticket stuff are more chilled? Or is it because they're higher net worth individuals, they're more fussy? How does that work in your industry?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like normally it's like you'll see the meme where £500 client asks 100 questions, 50k client says wired, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? That's kind of what you're referring to. But no, they're still highly demanding, the clients, to be fair. They're probably more demanding. But what I do find, I don't know, the Probably equal, because the thing is, to smaller projects, to them, that money's still a lot of money. So to us, a 50k project, we don't really want a 50k project, and that's not 50k in my pocket. Obviously, that's 50k turnover to the business. For us, that's not a large project. And so, but to the client, they're spending 50k. To them, that's probably a lot of money. It is a lot of money to anyone. But I'm saying, like, it's relative.
It's not.
It's relative. So to a client that, even if if you don't have a lot of money and you're spending your last, they're looking to spend 10k on a bathroom. Our bathrooms are 15k, but so let's say a cheaper bathroom of 10k, they might only have 10. You know what people are like? They might only have 10k in their bank. They might be taking a loan out to pay the 10k. So to them, this is everything. But at the same time, you just naturally, you can't have, our guys are on good money. The materials we use are the best materials. The products we use are only the best. We have the office, we have the overheads, we have good staff. So for us, you just can't facilitate those jobs, and that's why we don't. And also, I just don't believe in doing things cheap. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. When people say comments like, "Oh, yeah, like we did this self, do you think it looks good?" I look at it and I think, no, I can tell you that's cheap. Like, that's not where we're at. I'm all for
different in a marketplace.
It's just a different market. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not us. I don't believe in it. I won't ever cut corners on my own house. I will have the best of the best because I want the best, and so we serve the best, and that's it. It's just a different market. We want to push for the high-end clients that we can resonate with.
I've got a question on that, right? Because obviously we're going through technically a recession, but then there's always a percentage of society that will just never be affected. Like, the rich continue to get richer, right? So you're winning big ticket jobs. Are you still seeing a trend where those with money are still spending a lot on their home renovations, or has there been a slight decline from a couple of years ago?
No, not really. There was a period where they was just a little bit scared, and now everyone seems to, these clients have got confidence back. That's all it was. They just probably wanted to see, okay, are we about to go even further down and it get real bad or not? So there was maybe a 6-month period where people were a little bit cautious, and now they're like, okay, no, I feel confident to go and spend the money. Obviously, still, even the wealthiest clients, they're still borrowing the money, most of them. So there's still the interest rates to consider. They're still looking, but when you're dealing with people with their own home, and especially if they've got kids and stuff like that, there's so much meaning behind them doing the house that they'll justify spending the money, and they know at some point it will pay back.
It's going to be the biggest expense you've ever done, really.
Yeah, but they're not. Most of them aren't looking at that. They're not saying, oh, but is that going to be worth it in the house? Is that a great investment? They're looking at their life, how they spend time with their family, how they spend time with their kids, and they'll justify spending the money. So, yeah, for us, I think, who was it? Jazz Rose said, if you don't hear about a recession, then it doesn't exist. Like, do you know what I mean? I think he said that to us. And that's actually the mindset I've taken now. It's like, I'm not even going to get caught up in thinking it's a recession. I just pretend there ain't a recession, and it works fine. Like, the clients are still, do you know what I mean?
I remember that conversation with Jazz. Like, he just doesn't necessarily believe in the recession. I think, you can't deny, like, the rising cost of living.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And I think it's definitely the harder working people that get hit the most. People with capped salaries, the majority of people, they're struggling to get by. I feel like with business owners, it's uncapped, isn't it? There's no real cap on what you can earn as long as you're savvy and you're smart and you work hard. You could earn 5K, 10K, 100K a month. Steve Duran, one of our previous guests, I remember him talking on a pod saying he's a bit out of touch with salaries. But yeah, entrepreneurship's uncapped. So just going back to your point, I feel like there's a large percentage of the market that are always going to spend a lot of money on their home.
They're not even, a lot of our clients aren't even entrepreneurs. Some are, but we've got a lot of lawyers, doctors, people in like commercial, a lot of them are in like commercial, probably like doing something, but just big time commercial, probably doing something like, or one at the minute's like accountants. So
doctors earn great, man. I used to recruit for private doctors, and we used to have to cash in their timesheets. Some of these guys making like 10 G's a week.
A week,
10 G's a week. You had heart surgeons, serious job. If you need a heart surgeon in a hospital, it's a matter of life or death for the patients. These guys will sometimes get paid £200 an hour, £300 an hour. I've even seen £400 an hour for certain consultants. Cashing in those guys' timesheets. I was just thinking, wow. Like, these guys are
That's why
we
a lot of people don't want to be a doctor.
We should actually get one of my clients on the podcast. You know, obviously she's not big on like the social media, but she'd be a good. I think I mentioned she built the business during COVID, where they was doing the testing for like half of all of Germany. It went from like 6 employees to 4,000 employees, or like 1,500 employees, 4,000 staff, including the contractors and stuff. Like mad business. Should actually be wicked. I was speaking to her for like hours when I was just there. But I was thinking, that is the fastest business I've ever heard anyone grow. Obviously because of the circumstances. But like, how did you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. So she'd actually be.
What should do now?
She's exiting that business actually. So we've already done work for her. We're starting a project next month for her.
So how about you, Sam, in terms of losses? Obviously, we've each individually touched on losses. I know your risk tolerance. Once you got burned, that was it. It was your risk tolerance.
I'll tell you why it's interesting with me. So it might not seem it, I still have a high risk tolerance, just different aspects of business. So for me, one of my goals was, before I tell you about that, just some context. 3 years ago when it was the last bull run, I didn't have much, right? I just moved out, just started the business full time, and crypto happened. First flip that I got involved in, 1,000 quid into GRT because you boys gave me the tip. Overnight, that turned into 2K. And I've got an addictive personality, right? I always have done. Everything I had, I put into crypto, which at the time I think was about 10 G's. When you've just started a startup company, you're renting, you've got a lot of financial burden that you have to pay for.
That's mad. We spoke about it on a previous podcast where I just said like business is so brutal, and when you're going through these losses, it's easy to now look at it and think, okay, yeah, we've got, we're sat here, we're all doing okay, we've got a couple £1 million of work lined up and it's all good. But actually, when you're going through the losses, you don't know that you're going to bounce. At some point you're going to bounce back as a person, but the business side of things, you don't know if you can necessarily bounce back. And when you're going through those times as well, they're not. It doesn't happen in one day, and the next day you're back okay. Do you know what I mean? And you're out chilling. It's goes on for months.
You can't start again. From all the shit that we've learned from taking all of these losses. Like how to hire staff, what not to look like, what look to look for in staff. When you get in your office space, when you're doing certain things, you do learn all this shit. So I know that if this business went bust, I know that I can start again. And as I say, I know I'll just knock on doors and sell my sponges and start washing cars. Like, I've got no shame in doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like for us, the last 4 years, 5 years, I've always looked at it as business school. Our first business
still
is
learning.
We
are still learning. Every day is a school day.
In the grand scheme of things, we're still novices. We're doing quite well, but it's like what we've learned in the last 5 years. It's like you just said. I know for a fact, if we were to start again, we would get to where we are now half the time.
Quick.
So quick because we understand the blueprint now. I think that's like a valuable skill to learn because, say, for example, if your goal as a business owner is to one day sell the company, right? You can then enjoy yourself for a couple of months, whatever. You can build another company with the same blueprint that you've done before, just without all of the wrong turns that you took,
Yeah. That's true, but that's just us as individuals. Like the losses we've taken on building, it's so much more around that. You've got serious responsibility for, like you said, clients spending the most money they're ever going to spend in their entire life. They're giving you that to put their trust in you. You've got their absolute full emotions in your hands, basically, because you see a side to clients that I'm sure most people in their lives actually don't ever even get to see because they're so vulnerable. Obviously, our job is then to make sure that they can feel safe, they can feel at ease, they can relax and so on, and that's what we try to do. But at the same time, they're still initially going to feel that way if they're giving you every last thing they've got, by far the biggest investment, if they're giving you £500,000, apart from buying the house, but most of the time, even that is mainly mortgaged. So it is probably the biggest cash investment they'll ever make. So you've got that. You've got obviously all your staff. I reckon think they've all got mortgages to pay. They've got kids to feed. They've got, there's a whole chain. You've got your suppliers and sometimes small suppliers. You've got so on and so forth. There's so much responsibility really around it's not just, oh, fuck it, if I lose 100k, it's what it is, I'll start again. Like, yes, okay, in the grand scheme of things, that is what can happen, and I will be okay. But I think, especially for me, I've taken on a lot of responsibility of a lot of people counting on me to deliver and to not, just go blowing a company or losing out. And obviously, even having the company with my parents is such a big thing as well. So when things do go bad and when you do lose money, it's brutal times. It's hard. It's sleepless nights. It's, the key thing to me where I think I can hack stress very well, I think, compared to a lot of people probably. The telltale sign for me is where, and I've only had this a couple of times, where I start getting like chest pains and I think, oh shit, I've pushed this quite far. Like I'm on, and that be every day, man. I remember from when the clothing, even when we went through a bad time in the building, where you wake up, you got chest pains, and you got chest pains a lot of the time, and it's like, that's not good. And
you having like chest pains where the heart is.
Yeah, just chest pains, and I just remember thinking,
the weight of responsibility.
I don't know, but I just remember thinking, this isn't good, is it? Like, I should have. Luckily, I'm in my 20s.
Should not have done this.
But like, I think of you, like at Jake, and where you ended up in hospital, and fighting for your life. Really, the person next to you died, and I think this isn't good. You shouldn't push yourself.
Yeah, I push myself to the
in business, but it is, and I've been there a good couple of times where I'm at the real limit, where it's like,
that's a good point actually. When we're talking about losses, you lose your health.
You lose your health. You lose your mind, man. You can lose your mind over this.
You lose your mind first, and then you lose your health. That's what it felt. I felt like when I got ill, I lost my mind first. I just remember thinking, "There's too much shit going on up here," and then my body just started to go.
Mate, you were so busy before you got pneumonia. Yeah, I just remember seeing you. I lost my crazy hours. You're so stressed all the time.
Yeah,
it was just crazy what you were putting yourself through, man.
Yeah, you lose your health, you lose your time. We losing opportunities for going out with friends and stuff.
Yeah,
holidays.
That does change it.
Well, Ella desperately wanted to go on holidays. I'm like, I just can't. I can't take a week off work at the minute. It's just impossible. It's not possible. So it's like, obviously normally, fortunately, I've gone on multiple holidays a year, but at a sec, I just can't physically. It's just not doable.
Too much going on.
Too much going on. Weekends, most weekends, it's work. Evenings, like, do you know what I mean? At the minute, that's, we're deep in that phase again where it's just manic, busy. And that's what I do try to look at you and try and learn from that and think, I need to not put myself in that situation. No. But it's hard because it's, what else do you do? It's like, I can't this not do this.
This is what I thought at the time, but there was another way. I just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I just could not see it. And what helped me with that loss of my health was actually Steve, to be fair, come in and we'd redesigned like the whole business model to look at not just the money that's coming through the door, but the actual your net profit really, and your time. What does your lifestyle look like if you get rid of everything, get rid of all your staff, get rid of your office? I would say mentors a lot of the time that help us sort of not take as hard of a hit or as hard of a loss. But actually, funnily enough, like when with mentors, I know we all sort of vouch for mentors. But the first mentor that I had was uber expensive. It was £1,400 for 2 hours. It was £1,400 for 2 hours every month, and I had that for quite a few months. I had initial startup as well, and had like a goal setting half a day. That was another £2,000. So I probably spent about £10,000 on this one mentorship program, but it was way too far advanced. They were talking about just, I know like we work on our business, but I was only a small outfit at the time. Maybe had like 4 or 5 of us. That was the kind of mentor that a business of 100 people needs. And I feel like the value offer there is, the best. One of the best things I got out of it was that spreadsheet I showed you boys. And that spreadsheet has cost me £10,000.
10 bags for a spread. So, it is a good spreadsheet.
It's a great spreadsheet, but
10 bags is a bit steep.
For me, it was a bit of a loss.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my view on mentorships and mentors have slightly changed recently. And the reason why is I always used to think, and I think the psychological thing is, which people assume, the more expensive a mentor is, the better the program, the more you're going to learn is going to be, which in some cases, maybe it's true. But from experience and just from understanding more so the market now, a lot of these mentors should not be mentoring. A lot of these business coaches have never ran businesses. facts. A lot of these marketing gurus have never had an agency doing 6 figures a month. Some have, some are very credible, most are not. So I think personally, a lot of the stuff that mentors teach you, you can learn without spending 10 bags on a mentor, right? You pay 10 G's for a spreadsheet. Great spreadsheet.
I still got value out of it. I want to take that away. Like I still got good value, and I mean, for example, then I got Steve. Steve was half the price. Don't tell him that. Yeah. But he's half the price of what I was paying before, and I'm getting like 5 times the value out of it. Absolutely, Steve's just very much more for my business, and maybe I just didn't look around enough. I just thought I need a business mentor. I'm guilty of that. I'll always go like, right, I need a business mentor. I need someone like that. Business mentor, right? You'll do. Bang. I don't go and look at like 4 different business mentors and like cost and compare.
He was knowledgeable, to be fair. That guy you had.
I was great. He was so good. It just wasn't for me. Yeah, it just my business was smaller. Well, it seems smaller now, but it's small then. But I didn't need a lot of the stuff maybe that they were trying to implement. Whereas Steve is very much like sales driven. We're a sales company. Look at the figures. How can we change your business to make it?
Steve was great. In my opinion, Steve was the best mentor I've had, and I'd definitely use him again. Just my point is, I think if anyone's listening to this, just before spending with a coach or a mentor, just do your research, do your due diligence, because as I say, you know, social media especially, it's full of frauds, man. You know, I used to think the companies that are charging 10,000 a month, oh my God, they must be so good, whereas the service we've had for 18K has been terrible. Been a very bad service. So, you know,
you pay more, you expect more.
Yeah, if you pay 18K, you're going to think that you're just going to expect everything.
Like, you think you're going to get it back straight away. You think like, yeah, if I spend it, I'm going to get it back next month.
All it is they're good at sales and marketing. They're good at sales or they're good at marketing, and that's it. Like, there's so many companies like that, and that's why. Although it's not right, sometimes it's like just up your prices. Like, do you know what I mean? Just have confidence to up your prices like, at the same time, because you guys, for example, you give a good service, you do something that others don't. You can sell. Just have the confidence to market, you know, and sell higher. Like, you know, it's just telling a story.
Perceived value.
It's perceived value, exactly. But as long as, to an extent, though, it's if you actually thought about it and broke it down, yes. But at the same time, there's lots of companies that are charging probably significantly more than you, that are providing a good service, but it might not be better than yours. But it's still a good service that will get the clients results, and it's still a win-win situation. You know, you could charge double what you're charging now and it still be win-win situation for clients and yourselves, obviously. So, yeah, but there's a lot, back to your point, Sam, there's a lot of people, for me, I think if you're going to find, there's two things I'd look at. One is if you're finding a mentor, I think actually having individual mentors for different purposes of your business. For example, like we just said, Steve, bring him in. If you know you need to sharpen up on your sales, bring him in for sales. If you then need to sharpen up on your operations, bring someone in that you know is a killer in operations.
Yes, that's right.
And actually break it down like that for the marketing. Bring someone that's, if it's internally, let's say, for the marketing, and don't just look for this. I think there's great value in a business mentor, but to be honest, the business mentors, if you just want overall business, you can do that just by networking. Broad. You can just meet people, like, you know, you can ask, most people in business will answer your questions. You can meet good people, take them out for lunch, go for a coffee, take them out for dinner, whatever. Like, you need to get out there, be networking. You'll have people that are ahead of you in business that can give you an overall. In
your industry as well, you're good at it.
Exactly.
You're good at networking with builders.
Yeah, I think those coffees, like meeting people and just speaking to them on a level, you can learn so much more than from certain mentorships. Let's put it this way, right? If business owners are making so much money in that business, they usually don't have time to be selling super loads of mentorship programs. You know, Forex traders who are successful, do you really need to sell that Forex course? Like, probably not. You know, where's all of your money coming from? Is it the Forex course you're selling, or is it the Forex you're trading?
Sometimes it's ego as well for people. And they want a brand, they want to be online, they're doing well in Forex, for example, and they want to show everyone else what they're doing. And it's just another revenue stream. And it's probably a lot more safer than it is actually trading the Forex. Precisely. That's just that.
It is part of it, but there's I definitely agree. I think that's why I think going for people that aren't selling themselves as I'm a mentor, I'm a business coach, it's like, and they're just pushing it on social media because you know they're going to have that. If that is what they're doing, they now have just got systems and processes in place to put as little time and effort of their own so that they can scale and sell as many programs as possible. Therefore, it's probably not going to be as beneficial to you and your individual business and your needs, and help to your situation as you'd like. So it's better off finding someone that does it a bit here and there sort of thing, or is willing to help, or only will do it, but they're not constantly trying to scale some mentorship. I think for me, that's where we've had the best ones.
I do vouch for it, and I'd always
100%.
Yeah, I think personally,
but
I also vouch for it, but I also know 80% of the market's a scam. Right? I've got clients that have had business coaches that have never ran a business. You know, it's like going to university and learning business from someone that's never had a business and they're on 30K a year. Why am I going to listen to you? I don't want to, you know. So I think you've just got to find someone that's credible in your field. And they are out there, but a lot of the time it's not the guys that are running ads.
Be selective.
Or sending you a DM. You have to be selective.
That's it. It's not the ones marketing it hardcore themselves that you'll find it. It's you need to just find someone that is running a good business and approach them and you know, speak to them. Probably if there's people that you can go out for coffees and stuff or lunches with first, and if you find you get good value from them, ask them if they'll mentor you. Do you know what I mean? And put a proposal on the table. They might not usually do it, but if they like you, and you put a good enough proposal on the table for them, they might be willing to do it. And that's probably where you'll get the most value from.
How did we find Steve? We found Steve through a referral. He's not out here running ads.
Yeah, branch run that though. I think everything's like, I just think it's a case by case basis. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I think every time you turn to a mentor, other than this one right now, which is fishy. That's the wrong word. But, not sure right now. But everything else, I don't regret anything. Even the people that I know scammed us.
I don't regret anything.
I learned so much from them. Actually scammed us. I learned so much from it. I've never ever thought about getting the money back.
See, I've not had a bad experience with any myself, but I see loads that I think I wouldn't personally go with them, and then I've heard other people go with them, and I think, well, yeah, it's kind of obvious when you look at it because they're so hardcore pushing mentorship, and being a mentor for 15 years. It's like, well, you ain't run a business for 15 years. You know, what do you see what I mean? I'm not saying there's not some value because they get a review and look at businesses all the time, but yeah, you know, Aaron Branch is out there still running his business.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up. I think, yeah, we've touched on a lot of the risk taking, our tolerances, how they've changed, and a lot of the losses that we've taken. So, yeah, if you guys have also experienced any losses, let us know. Let us know what the lessons you are that you've learned from it. We're going to continue to take a lot of losses. So, take more risks, take more losses. Thanks for listening.